So we're here at Moda, wanted to take just a couple minutes to let you guys know our reactions to the things we're seeing behind us, to the auctions yesterday, just to the significance of what this event is. This is a relatively new event. This is the second time Moda's been around. And so we just wanted to take a minute and share with you guys our thoughts and feelings after day one. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. If you're wondering why we're uncomfortably close, it's because this is the biggest couch that we could find. So we're doing our best.
And I think we're breaking some rules by putting it in the middle of the golf course, but
We are, but that's okay. That's okay. The content will still be there. So listen to the words that we say, not so much the distance between.
hopefully nobody comes up while we're doing this and says, "Excuse me, sir, please leave."
Exactly right.
So we have some cars on display here. We've got the 918, the AP GT2, the Paint to Sample 38 RS, and the roof. I would say, crazy enough, the AP GT2, the 993 GT2, has gotten a lot of attention. Are you surprised by that?
So somewhat. One is the only one here. It's only 993 GT2 here.
Yeah.
It is a clone of the real thing, but still looks like the real thing.
Yeah.
So I think that it's gotten a lot of attention for a few reasons. There were only about 150 of those cars made, so you'd never see them out in the wild. And then this one also being something that looks more authentic rather than some kind of modified car, which we've seen a lot of modified cars here. I mean, that continues to be a trend
Yes.
in the market,
Yes.
seeing modified cars. And I've had lots of conversations about people of new builders coming out, bringing out cars. And so to have that car, but also to know it's been massaged, I mean, more of an OEM plus car, but still looks like the real thing. I think that draws in a lot of people to see what a real GT2 looks like, even if it's not on paper a real one.
Yeah.
But it still looks everything like.
Yeah, and that's not to say the Paint to Sample 918 didn't get looks as I was pulling in either, but that car is just so unique that it demands that attention for some reason.
Well, it's funny because you see there's so many Lambos here, so many old. I mean, you've got a lot of Countaches and Mercies and
Yes.
and Diablos here, but they almost begin to lose any distinctiveness because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
And there are no 993 GT2s here. But
Good point.
I mean, but the other thing is, I think the driver experience, and that's what people are looking for. I think there's a lot of talk about investment value, but what's becoming more significant is the driver experience and the usability of these cars.
Yeah.
Can you actually get out and use it? And if you got a $4 or $5 million car, you're really not going to do that.
No, you're going to park it and look at it. So the auctions were yesterday and the day before. Mixed results, right? Some things performed well, some things not so well. What's your overall take from those results? You know, you have something like the 918 that those cars are as hot as any right now, and that car just did not perform well. The F50 performed well, F40 performed well. So kind of a mixed bag there. What's your take on the results from the past 2 days?
We've had a lot of clients ask us about that, and that's why one of the reasons we wanted to talk about this. And I mean, you look at it, and I think it's a bigger question, and that is, what's the significance of auctions on the whole? I mean, there's a lot of data. How do you interpret the data? What do you do with it? And one of my clients was talking yesterday about a car that underperformed. Another one asked me about the 918, and yeah, the 918. I think the result was a little bit disappointing, but what I told him was, you know, look, if you'd had a 918 that did, and he said, well, or is the 918 market now beginning to retract? And I said, no, it's
not
still
after
just as hot as it is. But that's the point is, if that 918 had sold for $4 million, would you think that now suddenly applies to every 918 out there? Of course not.
Yeah.
Just like on BAT, when you get one good result, does that reflect the market as a whole? No. I mean, a lot of it is just the time of the day, the people that are in the room, the eyes that come to it. I mean, there's all kind of factors that play into that. But it's one data point, and you really have to have a number of those before you start to spot a trend and say the markets begin to change or do certain things. So it's more of a data point, and then you look at it beyond that and just say, I think it's an aberration. I think it's one of those things that it just happened because of the day and maybe because of the spec a little bit. And then but you don't look at that and say that's what the market's doing
Yeah.
as a whole.
One of the things that was surprising to me is that this is not a knock on RM. This is not a knock on Moda, because this is one of my favorite shows of the year, and it's relatively new. So I think everybody's still kind of figuring everything out. But last year, the auction took place during this show on Saturday, Sunday. This year, it was the 2 days prior, Thursday, Friday. It seemed like the energy Thursday night was great with the GT40 going off, with some pretty big cars going off. We were in the room yesterday, and with the Enzo going and the F50, the energy just didn't seem there. So I don't know if that played a part in it too, that, you didn't have these people amped up. And again, the auction last time kind of happened a little later in the day when maybe some alcohol was flowing. It was happening earlier this time. It's just, it's the energy in the room too. Plays a big part in it.
So I think you said something that should be noted, and that is there's so many factors outside of just the car and trends going on when you have auctions. People sitting in the room. It could be the time of the day. It could be, it was on Thursday instead of Friday, or vice versa. Wasn't on the weekend. I mean, it's so sensitive to little things like that in terms of what a car does. I'm certain that if your market environment had been one where, you had a crowd that was really amped up, the results would have been completely different. And so a lot of it is affected by those external factors that don't have anything to do with the market.
Yeah.
It's all about just the people that are there, and little things that when they change the days, or people didn't know, I thought it was here. Oh, I thought it was on Saturday.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. They didn't get the memmo, and
That's
so
right.
they didn't even tune in and say, I would have bid on that car if I had known.
Yeah.
So I think that's a part of it as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
The other thing, you brought up a point, this was last week, and I thought it was interesting because we're in Miami, and a lot of the people here, there's people from all over the country here, but there's also a large base of Miami residents here at this event and this show. Curated is one of the lead sponsors here. Love those guys. They brought out all the Countachs. I wonder if, the cars within the auction were more Miami centric, meaning the rare Lamborghinis, the rare Bugattis, the more flashy cars. I wonder if they would have performed, because you made the comment, and I bring this up, auctions are very regional, right? So a Pebble auction is very different than the Moda auction, which is very different than a New York auction. And so I wonder if that played a part too.
So this is a good example of that is this right here. So how do we look and interpret data? Some of it is when we go here, we're looking at how certain cars perform in certain regions, as you mentioned. So you wouldn't necessarily bring a classic Porsche, like a 1972 Porsche, to this event and expect it to do well. This is more of a grabby, sensational kind of auction. So you would think the flashier cars are going to do well. And so you evaluate what's going on in terms of how did the flashy cars do?
Yeah.
Because that's what performs well. If you go to somewhere like Pebble, it's a mix of everything.
Yes.
And then you go up and you go up to the Northeast, and you go up to a show like the Bridge. And you look at all the classic Porsches there.
Yeah.
That's what's going to do well.
Yes.
So you really have to look at it not in terms of how did the 918 do or how did that Countach do, but you got to look at it relative to what region you're in and what cars typically perform well in that region. That's what you have to look at. So it's a microcosm of the market as a whole, but it's not indicative of one sale. Doesn't mean that's what the whole market in the rest of the country is doing.
Yeah.
It means maybe some cars are hotter here than they would be in other places.
Yeah.
And an example was it was a CSX paint sample 2019 GT2 RS.
Yeah.
It was a very flashy spec and everything else. I thought,
800 maybe.
No. I mean, if the car went for what, 850? I thought
it went 950 after fees.
Was it 950? I'm sorry. So yeah, I thought, okay, that's going to be like a 650
that's right
car,
right.
And it goes to 900 and change. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any other place that it could have gotten that kind of premium.
Exactly.
Except for this.
Exactly.
And that's how you look at that, and you say, now, would you say, all of a sudden every 2RS paint to sample is worth 800 to 900? No way. No way. However, on a given day in the right atmosphere, that car did exceptionally well.
That's it.
And that's kind of what we take away from this is not so much let's just look at all the data and see how the cars did, but you have to be a little bit more, and you have to be a little bit more intentional about that, and how you quantify that data and make sure that you're taking into account all the other factors in play.
Yeah. Now let's get to the fun stuff before we close out. We've got Bugattis to our right. We've got a 959 right behind us. What has been the thing that stuck out to you here at day one? I mean, to be honest, we really haven't even gotten to the hypercar section over here because we've been so busy today. But I guess from what you've seen, is there anything that stood out?
I mean, I love seeing there was a white 959 here that was absolutely beautiful, and I love seeing those. You don't see real factory production cars like that haven't been tampered with,
Yeah.
and it was nice to see one that in sort of it was a sport too, not a comfort. So I love that car. I'm partial to the Porsches. A lot of the the more ridiculous cars here tend to look all the same
Yeah.
after you viewed them a while, but that was that car stood out. I saw an SP3, a dark blue SP3.
Oh, coming in yesterday,
and that car blew me away. I mean, I'm not big on a lot of the modern cars as investments or even as drivers, as you all know if you watch this very much. But that car,
to see that car moving,
that car is
stunning.
I mean, Ferrari got it so right
Yep.
with that car.
Yep.
And so that really stood out to me. I mean, I'm always particularly engaged by all the different, trends of resto mods that are going on. You know, Singer had their turbo study here, and got to see that. I mean, it's a cool car.
Yeah.
And see what people are doing. I think for the enthusiast, I think it's kind of marking a period where they're going to be more exciting cars to drive, not just technologically advanced, but also making a lot of these analog cars better and more relevant than they've ever been before, and kind of reintroducing those and taking that younger generation, that younger demographic of people, and saying, hey, here's what was relevant to me 20, 25 years ago, but now it can be relevant to you, and you can experience those same things. Even driving a manual, but driving a manual in some of the best cars in the world. I took an hour drive with a client of ours today in the AP GT2, and I mean, he's just blown away. I mean, that car does. I mean, it's a lightweight car with a lot of power, but every reaction, every input you put into the car is the car immediately reacts to it, compared to, he's got a 911 ST, and it's more sled-like.
Yeah.
You get G-forces, you get noises, but you don't get a lot of sensations from the car because there's just not enough going on. The cars are so technologically advanced that unless you've got a high rate of speed, you don't really feel much going on with the chassis.
Yeah, that's right.
So anyway, from that standpoint, I mean, I saw a lot of interesting things that people are doing and trying to make these cars more exciting and accessible than they've ever been before.
Yeah. For me, it has to be, and this is totally random from what we normally do, but the SLR, the original Mercedes SLR, because we saw it running on Concourse last night.
That's right.
And popped over there today, and we have our first couple SLR McLarens, the modern ones that we've had run through Merit recently. So to see where that car was designed from was super cool for me. So.
Oh, well, how could you not? Timeless design.
Timeless. And the sound on the track last night, there was 4 Mercedes of varying generations and, price points, I should say, running around the track, and that was the only car you could hear. It was that loud and that just, it was great. It was great. So.
Oh, it's been fun.
It's been fun. Day 1 down. We've got another day tomorrow. We might come back on, just do a quick little recap of day 2, but once we venture over into the hypercar area. So.
Well, we'll see what we got going on tomorrow.
Yep.
Should be some more cool cars coming out, some things maybe we didn't get to see today.
That's right.
And have a chance to speak to a few more people, and also get a view of what people are thinking as you begin to have those more intentional conversations and see where people are trending.
Well, we're participating in Club 100 tomorrow, which is 100 hypercars and supercars getting together, going from University of Miami to here. So it's going to be great to be with those guys and see what they thought of day 1 and have those conversations. And we'll definitely get back on this couch in the middle of the fairway and have another conversation.
There it is. I love it, Evan.
All right, man. We'll see y'all on the next one.